Hello, everyone. This week's Parsha is Parsha Shemini, in which many things occur. But one of those things is the sin of the sons of Aaron, Hadav and Avihu. And when we read this Parsha, we can see sort of how the buildup occurs, Yom HaShmini, and Bnei Israel is able to finally bring Korbanot. The Mishkan is established. And then we have the tragic fall of Hadav and Avihu, who don't necessarily follow the rules, all different reasons for why they fell in this manner. So what comes out clearly is that in continuation of the Parsha, there are a set of laws. There are boundaries for Kohanim not to be able to approach certain distances and not to be able to come close to mates, and to be able to have this separation between Am Yisrael, between the Kohanim and the rest of the nation. And the rest of the nation as well has all these general laws in order to maintain this sense of purity. Now, one of those laws that we're going to find in Parsha is that we list all the kosher animals, including the kosher birds. And when we find out the list of the kosher birds, there's an interesting reasoning by the Ramban, which we're going to show as why the birds aren't eaten. And we're going to try and show why these birds specifically and how to sort of relate to the Parsha's theme of a whole as finding a certain distance and sort of location in a way we could relate to God. So the pasuk says, "V'elat shakatsu min ha'of lo ye'achlu shekethem et hanesher v'et haperes v'et ha'ozniya," and it goes on to list the rest of these non-kosher species. Now, these birds specifically are the ones that you cannot eat, and any other bird that Torah does not list, we have a Masorah for, assuming we can eat. Now, the Ramban is going to explain the reasoning for why these birds specifically, in which he says that B'nei Tam ha'isr ba'ofot B'nei achazariyut todotam. The Ramban notes that there is a certain cruel nature to these birds. They're birds that are dores, that go after their prey and are predators. And the Ramban notes that from these birds specifically, that these animals specifically, the ones that the Ramban notes have this cruel nature, are the ones that we're supposed to distance ourselves from. Now, it's interesting that we don't necessarily always have reasonings for some mitzvot, we could say. For Paraduma, we know it's a famous classic example of a chok, something that's unexplained. But we have also for kashrut as well. There are certain times we don't have clear reasonings for why these animals, specifically the ofot, we don't know exactly why certain animals are excluded. The Ramban is giving this reason that these animals are birds of prey. And for this reason, that they attack other birds, and they are birds who have this characteristic nature of being dores, having this nature of achzariyut. The Ramban notes that's the reason why we distance ourselves from them. Specifically for this reason, because of their achzariyut todotam, from their nature, they're going to be cruel. And we can perhaps sort of see as this parsha develops that with the sins of Nadav and Avihu, and we famously have this line of Vayidom Aharon. Aaron doesn't have a response. He's silent and accepting. There are certain times where we don't necessarily have to have full reasonings for everything, but we definitely have to follow the laws in any case. We can find the reasoning sometimes, like the Ramban can give reasons for why these birds specifically are not allowed because of their achzariyut. But sometimes there has to be this accepting that we don't necessarily have all the reasonings. And Parsha Shemini is developing this in the midst of a jubilant celebration. We don't necessarily always know why and when tragedy will strike. There's this way of accepting and finding reasons where we can, or where we can't, following through Emunah. Have a great job, everyone.